Alexander. Ah, I'm live. Okay. Hello. Welcome to this YouTube channel, DavCat43, where we are perpetually opposed to fascism and throwing all of our amateur resources at the problem of addressing global fascism and global fascist influence. Now, when I say fascism, what do you understand the meaning of that term to be? To me, and to many others, it's rule by deceptive, corrupt influence that takes hold of a large base of people, approximately 30 to 40% of any given nation, whereby appeal to emotion circumvents logical thinking and people begin to conflate the appearance of something for the reality of something. So they begin to think this is a leader who talks about safety and confidence and self-interest, and he will deliver that to our nation. And the reality is always filled with failure, incompetence, and mass bloodshed at an industrialized scale. So it takes people a while to wake up to that. And so strong is the emotional investment by many in the fascist leader and the fascist movement that many will never recover their ability to view reality logically. Many people after Hitler's downfall were still saying, I believe in Herr Hitler. That's why American soldiers forced some German citizens to walk through the camps with them. They heaved and vomited and retched as they saw the mounds of bodies and the piles of skeletal human beings strewn in piles about the camps. The American soldiers felt that it was necessary to do that to force Germans to confront the reality of what their government had done to people imprisoned in those camps. They were Jewish people, but they were also political prisoners and people with disabilities, homosexual people, and gypsy people. Romani people, might be the correct term there. In any case, democratic people need to be motivated in the US to stand up for what's right, because when governments become increasingly untethered from reality and from conscience, atrocities occur. So these are the faces of some young men in Ukraine who died during the month of August. So who could have been helped by Trump's, well, not Trump, the military aid was appointed by Congress. Congress has the power of the purse. There was bipartisan resolutions passed to deliver millions of dollars worth of military aid to the Ukrainian government so that they could more effectively defend their nation from Russian attacks. Now, if people don't realize this, part of Ukraine has already been taken over by Russia. Russia has already annexed Crimea, has already annexed parts of the region of Donbass. These are areas which help Putin build pipelines, get access to fossil fuels such as coal and gas reserves, and they personally enrich the totalitarian leader of Russia. So here we have Vasil Kurdov, Sarai Sandra, Vladislav Rak. These are names which are not resonant as familiar with English speakers, but to the people of Ukraine, they are people who died whilst Trump illegally placed on hold military aid. It was not his business to do so. He did not care about addressing corruption. He cut the budget for helping address international corruption by some $2 billion. Trump was interested purely in gaining Ukrainian acquiescence to his plot to falsely assert that Russia didn't attack America, to help his friend Vladimir Putin, to help him financially benefit his friend Vladimir Putin, so that he could mount a case with at least plausible deniability. Oh, they didn't attack us. They're our friends. Ukraine attacked us. See, they launched an investigation into themselves because this story has legs. Asha Rangapanga is a ex-FBI agent and pundit now, and she pointed out in a Medium piece that it's called black propaganda when people seek to cover up the origins of an inquiry. And this inquiry the origins of it, that it was Rudy Giuliani, Kurt Volker, Gordon Sondland, secretively pursuing this course of action on Trump's behalf to promote the Ukrainians to make an announcement, a public announcement on CNN, that they had just decided that there was enough evidence there. Trump didn't even really want the investigation, so I hope people stop saying that. He didn't want his arrangement, his extortion attempt on Ukraine, his extortion success on Ukraine was not to have an investigation, but was to have a public announcement of an investigation. That's all you need. All you need is a letter from James Comey announcing that Hillary Clinton's going to be investigated. Jim Comey was extorted by corrupt FBI agents, and any day now, it would be great if he could admit that, James Comey. In fact, I really ought to read his autobiography in case he admits it anywhere there. I gave it to my dad because he was such a Trump supporter, he really needed help to get pulled out of that particular delusional puddle. I think he's a bit better now. He's probably, I mean, he's Australian. He doesn't even watch Fox News. He didn't have to support Trump. He just thought Trump was a good businessman doing his best. That was the delusional reality forced on so many people who watched The Apprentice and who bought the idea that Trump was a breath of fresh air compared to feminism. So yes, I'm looking at the faces of these men who died during the period of Trump's failure to deliver Congress's $1 million military aid bundle to Ukraine. They only let through the aid once the whistleblower's complaint was publicly known of. So once the plot was starting to reach the public ear, then they went, okay, yep, sure, the aid can go through. Prior to that, people were trying to organize meetings in vain with Trump and the head of the Department of Defense, Mike Esper, etc. But they hadn't made such a meeting happen yet because Trump had no interest in stopping his own plan, his own covert plan. And for the people who claim it wasn't a covert plan, it was secretively put into the highest security server by a National Security Council lawyer, John Eisenberg, as soon as John Eisenberg heard that people were complaining about it. Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman has testified under oath that he was concerned about the content of the call, that Trump appeared to be demanding a course of action contrary to American national interest that was only in Trump's personal interest. Now, there may come times when the president's personal interest doesn't run contrary to national security interest, but in this case it did, because the reason why Congress apportioned so much military aid to go to Ukraine is because allowing Russia's aggression to go unchecked is a security problem for the US, because it allows a competing superpower to start illegitimately taking over other countries without consequence. America specifically, the democratically elected representatives of Congress had specifically asked for that aid to be given to Ukraine in order to provide a check and a balance on Russian aggression. Now, when I say democratically elected, I would like to have a caveat there because I am presuming that many Republicans are involved in electoral fraud. One particular electoral fraud scheme happened in North Carolina, and that was uncovered. That was a candidate, Mark Harris, who employed someone called Leslie Dowless, who hired people to go to people's houses, take their absentee ballots from them with assurances that these ballots would be dealt with correctly, then take those ballots back to office headquarters and illegally fill them out for all Republican candidates in every office and every position on that ballot, artificially or illegally and falsely sign it as being witnessed, appropriately witnessed and filled in only by that voter themselves. And that fraudulent campaign was uncovered. Mark Harris's own son testified against him that he had advised his father not to hire this particular person who had a career associated with fraud. So, I'm bringing these people back up on the screen again because let us never forget that there are always black and white pictures. There are always real and escalating casualties under every fascist leader that has ever existed. All right, let's see if I can go online now and respond to any comments from anybody. If there's any live comments. No. Let's see if we can see myself talking. Perhaps if we turn the volume down. Oh, look. There's me. I have 105 subscribers, which is very exciting. There's possibly nobody listening live, but that's okay. I'm still putting this out there. How cool is that effect of having history repeat itself behind my head? All right, we'll see if we go forward with this in future. But I'm very excited to have the opportunity to use a projector, and I will get more graphs up. In fact, while we're here, why don't we go to my favorite account, which is called Obama's Economic Legacy, because they have well-resourced graphs. Have a look at this. We can see some graphs. Jobs created in the last 33 months under Obama versus the first 33 months of under Trump. Oh, actually, that's not going to help. All right. So 7.38 million jobs under Obama and 5.75 under Trump. So we can see that's a fairly distinct amount. And the source is BLS Payroll Employment and Preliminary Revision. Perhaps Americans are more familiar than me with what that acronym is. Oh, here we go. Small business jobs created. The source for this one is ADP National Employment Report, October. Oh, I think I've run out of battery. That's okay. It was fun using a projector. So if you enjoyed that, please feel comfortable to comment or give feedback on what you've enjoyed. But my point was, in general, that fascist leaders claim to be strong, claim to be good at generating prosperity. Trump gave a sugar rush to the US economy through his tax cuts, adding $1 trillion to the national debt in the process of doing so. And he proceeded to embark on a campaign of damaging the US economy. So he has damaged farmers and damaged their trading relationships. Bankruptcies has been up at least 13% amongst farmers since Trump took office. Their soybeans is apparently one of America's principal agricultural exports. I never would have thought I'd be studying America's principal agricultural exports, but here we are with a fascist with access to nuclear codes, a fascist who antagonizes decent people and cultivates a rabid following amongst cultish fans, whose intellectual processes at this point are a textbook illustration of the psychology of accommodation, whereby something happens that doesn't fit into somebody's worldview, so they develop great intellectual resources in the field of ignoring facts that are inconvenient to their worldview, to their delusional worldview. All right. I am going to say that I've just noticed today people talking about militant vegans online being cruel to disabled people, Indigenous people, and impoverished people. So for me, it's important to try and corral people who are misbehaving in all political walks of life. So just as important as it is for me to call out fascists on the right, I would like to say that the far left are probably motivated by the same type of ecological anxiety that I am, that we may not have a livable biosphere if we continue on our current trajectories. And certainly for thousands of people each year, it's no longer a livable biosphere. They're getting heart attacks from exposure to increased heat, or their habitations are being knocked over by or burnt down by wildfires, the type of increasingly severe and frequent wildfires that you see under the high temperatures of a heated world. It is wrong to target the disabled, the impoverished, and the Indigenous. It is wrong to pretend that it's not white people industrialization that is primarily driving the emission of climate change gases. If we can take colour out of it and just say it's been a significant part of national history for England, for America, for Australia, to be very impactful in terms of the amount of carbon dioxide gas produced, so that we now have a world that's heated by approximately 0.8 Celsius degrees, so that frozen ground is thawing even faster than scientists thought, which is a tipping point leading to the release of methane gases, a type of gas that very potently traps heat in our atmosphere. So if you understand the concept of greenhouses, where you can grow fruits and vegetables in a warmer climate, in a colder climate by creating a greenhouse. So in England, you can grow tomatoes if you build a greenhouse. Tomatoes need warm air, so you build this greenhouse, the sun comes in, and then not all of it just goes back out again. Some of it is trapped by the glass. If it was a metal shed, the heat wouldn't go in the first place. But glass has this heat retentive properties. It allows heat in, the heat cannot as easily escape. With carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it's at levels that traps heat. Heat can come in from the sun, not all of the heat can leave. We're left with this additional heat. It's a problem. The ocean has absorbed a lot of the additional heat that's been created so far. The ocean is at capacity of heat absorption. We are experiencing the increasing heat, and it's going to get exponentially worse. Our children may not survive this, just even a short number of decades into the future. We are stealing life from them and each day that we fail to collectively act, each day that we fail to elect politicians who acknowledge the scale of the problem and the need for urgent remedial action. So I hope that's good. That works for you as a bit of a chat that advances your understanding, or at least corroborates and confirms your understanding in a way that emboldens you, makes you go, I'm not alone. There's lots of people who appreciate science, who are mourning the loss of ecological viability for our species, who are mourning what's happening to people in hotter climates, where more people are being admitted to hospital from heart failure because of exposure to extreme temperatures. I said extreme for a second, which is very Halloween of me. But I'm talking about extreme temperatures. And human beings need to operate within a certain range of temperatures to maintain homeostasis. That is to say, a life-friendly range of conditions. And all of the migrants that are being imprisoned in iceboxes for a time being, ostensibly to kill germs, it really kills their body's ability to manage germs, because it takes body temperatures outside of homeostasis. It stresses human bodies. It stresses and disempowers human immune systems. So migrants are more likely to have diseases which will then spread faster because they're in often confined conditions with overcrowding. And American officials are refusing to allow those people to have donated flu vaccines. So yes, illness is rampant. Rabies, chickenpox, shingles is rampant in the extremely oppressive conditions for migrants in camps all over America. Camps that Trump has built, in many cases in military bases, so that there can't be effective oversight. And we need to keep being loud about it. We need to keep donating to organizations that help migrants, because they are the first casualties. We need to donate to those conditions and be loud about it as we say it's not okay for American values to be diminished in this way. The majority of Americans, if they engage with reality, will say, yes, it's bad to kill children. It's bad that 20 children have died in US custody since Trump came to power. I think the left are doing ourselves a disservice by saying babies in cages. We could say babies being forcibly orphaned by the Trump administration. Babies and children being taken from their parents and not reunited because the Trump administration did not ask or organize for record keeping to be done. So there was no way of reuniting children with their families because there was no records on who had been taken from who. So we don't just say babies in cages, we say children permanently separated from their parents, children grieving the loss of their parents and literally losing their minds, children having to be forcibly restrained so they don't commit suicide and throw themselves out of windows because their parents have been taken from them in the worst of conditions, without being able to say goodbye, without information on what was happening, so that they were left to believe anything that their minds could fear in this terrifying circumstances. There was a 7-year-old boy whose father had been taken away without saying goodbye, without explanation. The boy imagined that his father had been killed and that he was next in line to be also killed by these cruel US authorities, which put him in a psychotic frame of mind, and he had to receive medical treatment. A judge has recently ruled that the US is liable to provide psychological care to all of the people affected by this cruel policy. But given that justice is now ruled over in America by Attorney General William Barr, whose loyalties lie with the extreme Catholic organization Opus Dei, and who has no interest whatsoever in distributing justice for the American people, no interest in upholding American values, and no interest in doing anything other than supporting Trump and furthering his agenda of persecuting people of color and achieving political ascendancy through touting that cruelty. Look how powerful, look how willing we are to persecute people of color. Rest assured that that is the pathway to true strength and security. It's not. Killing Jews did not make Germany safer, and destroying migrant families does not make America safer. It makes some people crazed with joy and power that they have shed the standards and norms of decent society, that they have cast off civilization, they have cast off caring about laws anymore. People should not be surprised that Republicans don't care about the rule of law anymore. They didn't care that babies were being ripped from their mother's breasts. They don't care about anything anymore other than their own power and exulting and triumphing in their own power and their own freedom from standards of decent behavior. To everybody who's alarmed by the description I'm drawing of the current situation of American politics, please join in. Please support Stacey Abrams, who is working to strengthen American votes. It's something called Fair Fight America? Oh, I should know this. I will look it up. Because at least through strengthening the vote, at least through agitating for auditable elections, then America may have a chance to try to expel some of the tyrants who are currently savaging American values, savaging America's reputation as a country of justice, as a country of equality for migrants, as a country of welcome for people who wish to work hard and participate in a new adopted country. Fair Fight Action. Okay, that's the account that I'm recommending you follow, as well as Stacey Abrams. Fair Fight Action. It's got 32,000 followers, fighting for free and fair elections in Georgia and around the nation. A joint account of Fair Fight and Fair Fight Action. There we go. Every single county that piloted the new machines had problems. That's for the Georgian Secretary of State, who said, "We've had great success with Georgia's new paper-based ballot system." It's paper-based ballots being printed out from hackable electronic voting machines. So no, it's not okay. If you say demand paper ballots, you have to say demand hand-marked paper ballots, because barcode printed paper ballots are stealable. And everything that's not nailed down is going to be stolen by fascists as much as they can until they are kicked out of office. And they have a lot of reasons to believe they can continue to steal from you and from your descendants. Unaddressed climate change is intergenerational theft. We are stealing decades of peaceful existence from our children. I, for one, won't be silent. I, for one, won't be quiet as this is turned around and pretended to be a problem of individuals. Oh, if you take the stairs, you'll fix climate change. None of that. will address climate change in any substantial way. Only concerted action at a systematic governmental level will help to turn the tide of industrialization under its current trajectory of emitting carbon dioxide. Emitting carbon dioxide to make plastic, emitting carbon dioxide to drive cars. It is all policy that needs to be addressed through systematic change, through commitment to reducing economies to zero carbon or to negative carbon. It's systems that need to be addressed on multiple fronts: mass tree planting campaigns, mass adoption of renewable energies, mass sponsorship and subsidization of renewable industries, changing all of the subsidies of fossil fuel industries over to renewable industries, whilst simultaneously promising to find jobs and employment, or to create retraining programs or universal basic income programs for personnel of fossil fuel industries. And remember, people habitually overestimate how many people are employed in these industries, and we habitually overestimate what percentage of the GDP these industries constitute. It is not okay for them to sell us a river of lies about our dependency on fossil fuels when it's not compulsory, it's not necessary, and we won't be betraying coal workers if we retrain them and compensate them and employ them in other industries. It's just called taking action to safeguard our children's lives and our own lives. I would have liked to be a grandparent and to live happily into an older, peaceful existence, but at the moment, the chances of that are looking less and less likely, because I happen to have studied science and I happen to know about the global tipping points that we are all reaching much earlier than scientists even predicted. So it's all worst case scenario at this point in time, not, oh, whoops, scientists made a mistake. Phew, we didn't really cross that bridge till we came to it. Now that we're crossing it, the problem's not really there. That is not what's happening. The bridge is manifesting itself much earlier than was spoken out loud by many people. I mean, in private, scientists at universities were talking amongst themselves and saying things look bad 15 years ago. I was just dating my husband, and I've had a couple of children since then, and that fear can leave you. You can get distracted in Netflix. You can busy yourself with caring about how you compare to your neighbors, or whether your nails are done, or any of the other distracting, superficial things you can get caught up in. But the real existential threat to our existence has not gone away. It has only intensified over time. ExxonMobil scientists knew 40 years ago, and they projected very accurately the current levels of carbon dioxide gas emitted by humans and present in the atmosphere, and they predicted very accurately the temperature increase that we are experiencing now. So, yeah, we're all doomed unless we can stop giving our political power away to the ignorant, the uninformed, the delusional, and the frankly malevolent. Let's do what we can. It's not worthwhile throwing up our hands and saying nothing can be done. Every day we have to brainstorm new ways to address the ongoing problem of needing to reach political consensus, needing to have enough people appreciate the problem without it being so disastrous that there's no hope remaining. There is hope. The hope only lies through concerted mass action, and if you're not prepared to be part of it, I'm prepared to shun you and be reasonably rude to you in conversation, because climate change deniers are now fairly categorized as climate criminals, who are criminally ignoring a real and present danger. Thanks for listening. I hope you tune in again, and I hope you feel comfortable in writing messages. Let's see if there's any live feedback yet. Oh, there was all the time. I just didn't press the right button. I had to press live chat. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. I didn't realize there's Caroline, There's Brian. So glad to see you. Bronte, nice to see you too. It took me a little while to start broadcasting, longer than I thought. So excited to see you all there. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed listening today, and I hope to see you again another time. If you liked it, feel free to let your friends know. Feel free to humiliate yourself by tweeting out, watch this person, engage with what she has to say. I'm here preparing myself to potentially look stupid and foolish every single day. Once I thought I had finished broadcasting and the screen was still running, I wasn't smiling or talking anymore. I was touching my nose inappropriately, and that was a very humiliating experience for me. So to realize that I'd broadcast that live to the internet. So I want you to know that it's worth humiliating yourself for. It's worth looking overeager and being louder than you had anticipated being in polite company. Talk about climate change to people at parties and see if you can practice counteracting their false understandings, if you can identify any that they have. Climate change isn't just a little bubble. It's not something that's going to be a problem 100 years from now. It's a problem now, and now is the only period left where we can potentially avert a catastrophe beyond our imagining. Thank you, Bronte. Exactly, I would expect nothing less than my most devoted listeners to have already been sharing it. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Bronte. Thank you, Brian. The Splattle person, I am not familiar with your handle, but thanks for joining in. And look, hope to see you all again. Thanks, guys. If the screen freezes now, I am pressing off, so don't bother to listen anymore. Sometimes it's a little difficult for me to use this third-party app effectively to say broadcast is finished, but hopefully it says that now. What if I press play and I see if it works? All right, wish me luck. I'm going to stop the broadcast and see if that works. Ciao, everyone. Bye.